because you place, I mean, iconically such a likable person
Well,
that I would find, I think we all know who I'm talking about, that I think I would imagine that would be kind of...
That was the appeal.
Right.
That's why I couldn't wait to do it. Well, it was fun, but then, by like, month 2, you're like, man, it's tough to go and just feel this hate from the audience. Again, that means you're doing your job well, but it's not going to not take its toll, and you're not going to not take some of this home with you, not to use double negatives twice, but it just, I think theater is such a wonderful exchange. It really is. I forget who used this analogy, and I'm probably going to butcher it, but it really is like building little sandcastles every night that the audience or the ocean just comes and takes, and then you build another one tomorrow. And that's a beautiful, intangible, fleeting part of creativity. And I think what keeps you motivated to come back has to be part of that exchange. And my whole exchange was just predicated on just loathing, and I think it started to get taxing.
But I feel like when you work, you have to, no matter who you're playing, you need to find some empathy for. Could you find empathy for that person?
Oh, trust me. You know what? Every actor says that's like, acting school stuff. You never judge the characters you play. If you judge the characters you play, you're not going to play them real. So no villain thinks they're the villain. But when they start calling things out, oh, this fucking guy. Oh, sorry, I can't say swears. But a couple times, and you take a little bit of, I had a drama teacher in high school who told me he saw a performance of Othello somewhere in Texas in the 70s, and someone in the audience stood up and shot Iago. Shot him. And he survived, but in the hospital said it was the most, the greatest compliment he'd ever received.
Yeah, it's so, I think why I mean, you've always been such a great actor. You were great then, and so incredibly photogenic and just come alive on screen in a way that's very uncommon. And I found that you and I always, even though I remember we had one scene in
the Perfect Score. It's my favorite scene in the movie.
Yeah, which is a great scene.
It's so sweet.
And it was so nice to work with you because, I felt that we had a great chemistry as actors, and, there was a sort of naturalistic approach that I felt that was, there was some likeness there between us. And then we also got to work together on the Nanny Diaries, which again was such a pleasure and also just very easy. I mean, I feel it's always easy between us for whatever reason, because I think we have some similar approach maybe to performance, and we are present with one another, maybe just for various reasons, but also, I mean, one of the fact just being that we're friends and have known each other for such a long time, and I think have a lot of sort of empathy for one another as people. But it was such a pleasure for me to watch you in your play, because I think it's interesting to have an experience of watching, sharing a scene with you, because we're face to face and we have this kind of intimacy. And then sometimes I see you, on a screen and you're up there and huge. But when I saw you in the theater, there's this, it's intimate, but you're also observing in this way that's very different. And I could suddenly see you from a totally different perspective. And then I realized, again, as I have for many years, but it confirmed my thought that you are a damn fine actor. And I think also just at the coming into your own in a lot of ways as an actor, and you have a confidence about you, so that that allows you to also be vulnerable, and it's also okay, and you let us in just the right kind of way, and I think that's just great.
That's exactly. When I was watching Marriage Story, I was saying to someone I was watching it with, I was like, Scarlett just lets you. I think it's always tough watching people in film, just because you know them, and you know what I mean. And I think every actor, no matter who you are, You have to call from your own experiences. So you're always going to say, oh, there's a little bit of
right. You know, there's
the
stuff.
person I know.
Yeah.
When I was watching Marriage Story, I was like, man, Scarlett has a way of just, that's not Scarlett. Like she found, like even in like the subtle, the opening of that movie, like I was just in love with both of your characters. I was so crestfallen because I knew it wasn't gonna work. But that opening stuff, you just have a way of doing things where you shed who you are, but still have that availability. You let people in. That's a really sweet thing, because I think a lot of actors, men and women, have a way of. Sometimes I think the more they get a little. I think being internal and kind of removed, it's mysterious, and it forces the audience to lean in. But if the goal is to reveal